Hello everyone, I wanted to take you through a chapter, one of your chapters in our stories, First Peoples in Canada. And we're going to begin by looking at the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada, what it is, why it was formed, and why it is so important. So, the Truth and Reconciliation Committee of Canada was formed to create for the Aboriginal people a commission or a committee that was there to advocate on their behalf after all of the injustices were done to them. So the TRC, again, the Truth and Reconciliation Committee, this committee was formed as a way, again, to come to terms with the, again, the injustices that were put upon the Aboriginal people. This began in 2009. It was a 5-year mission, and it was to look at what happened in the Indian residential schools, which also is the acronym IRS. As we know, children were separated from their parents, from their homes, from their tribes, for the purpose of creating white Canadians. And there is a document from the government that states that they wanted to bring white to the Aboriginal people. That was a form of ethnocentrism. So in order to work to create a document that would hopefully guide future practices, the committee traveled all across Canada to get opinions and also to get witnesses and their accounts of what happened during that awful time. If you actually go into this book, you will be able to click on videos that take you right to the situation that was occurring. So this will provide you a very interactive way to prepare for this assignment. Okay, so the final report was a calls to action report, and that is the document that you're going to see in your module. And again, over 150,000 children from First Nations, Inuit, and Métis communities were placed in residential schools from 1883 right up until 1996. There were confirmed 32,000 deaths within 3,201 deaths that were named or unnamed in the registry for the IRS. It is estimated that over 6,000 children died in residential schools. And of course, these deaths, some were due to diseases such as tuberculosis and flus, but a lot of deaths also were due to neglect, abuse, lack of food, isolation from family and culture, insufficient housing, and exposure to elements and fires. As of 2015, there remained 80,000 survivors. 37 or 38,000 of those survivors have been compensated for sexual abuse while in the residential schools. So, the Truth Reconciliation Committee, or Council, created 94 calls to action. And these calls to action are grouped under 2 broad categories of legacy and reconciliation. Legacy is to redress the deep residual cultural and psychological damage that the residential schools caused. And the reconciliation is to advance that and to go forward into the future to prevent anything like that from happening again. So you will see they've separated these calls of action, and I'd just like to go over some of the categories that they've used. So there are 94 calls to action, so the name explains itself. These are interventions that demand that we voice out our thoughts about this and that we get action. And the Indigenous people want that and need that. So the calls to actions then were divided into categories of child welfare, education, health, and justice. So those are the calls to action that you're going to be looking at when you go through your case study, Rose's case study. I'd like you to get familiar with the document. I'll just show you where that is. Okay, I'm just going to show you where that is. If we go to content and we go to your cultural case study module, cultural safety case study module. If you come here, this is where I found the PDF. So this is that textbook that I was just introducing you to. Please make sure to use this textbook as your primary resource. You also have your COSIA readings, but this book will really get you into looking at the issues of the Aboriginal people, as well as some of their traditional wellness beliefs and practices, which you know for Rose you have to do. Here is the calls to action document. And I just quickly want to show you then how it is divided up, this document. So 94 calls to action. It originated out of Winnipeg, Manitoba. There is a high population of Aboriginal people there. There will also be higher numbers of Aboriginal people here. So we are looking at, again, so the calls to action, child welfare. So I would like you to go through which calls to action you think are pertinent for the case study. So there's child welfare, there's a calls to action for education, language and culture, health, justice, and here is the reconciliation, the Royal Proclamation and Covenant of Reconciliation. These are agreements with the governments. Here's a settlement agreement among partners. For this case study, you are looking more to the calls of action related to child welfare, education, language and culture, health, and justice. Okay, everyone, the second half of this document is very important, and I do stress that you review that. However, for this case study, you are to look at Rose. You are to collect her unique data. You are to create a diagnosis. From that diagnosis, you will look at plans to meet Rose's emotional or mental, and physical needs. So please use the document I mentioned. So under your cultural safety case study, you will find your assignment, your rubric. You will find the calls to action document that you will need. You will find also the PowerPoints that were in our module. I've just put them here for your convenience. And here is the textbook, the PDF interactive textbook that you can use, as well as your COSIA. So I'm hoping this helps you out a little bit. We will go over the actual assignment and rubric in class today. Thank you very much.